That's crazy. Goodness.
So, do you notice a difference in like in um BIPOC men's and women's mental health?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's basically what we were saying at the beginning, how uh if I let me see if I can get it right. Men's mental health are considered non-existent,
Hmm.
honestly. It's not supposed to be a thing at all.
Yeah.
And then for women it's supposed to be like I think for BIPOC they should show their emotions a little bit more or talk. One of the two. What would you say? Or both even.
I would say or in my experience is men don't show emotions unless it's positive emotions. Or unless you're really angry and you go hit a
Mm-hmm.
wall, that's okay. And then you're
Yeah.
fine. You
Yeah.
hit a wall and then you're fine. That's it. And with
Oh
women,
my.
like it's
Yeah.
crying very silently in the corner, or you go cry in the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
alone, then you wash your face and then you're fine. Or you keep it to
Mm-hmm.
yourself because nobody else needs to know. Because we just got to put on a smile, pretend that you're happy, and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Sorry, I missed that.
So I was just saying, in my experience, that's what I've noticed or have been told by people.
Mm-hmm. Now, definitely, I've noticed it. Like, I've noticed it and experienced it. Where, since like I'm gonna speak from my perspective and a male's perspective. It's more so where um you're you're what's the word, raised and trained and bred to be a person of strength, right? You're so that's the bottom line of it. First, for a BIPOC male, where mental health it's not supposed to exist in your, it shouldn't even be in your vocab. Honestly, you're not supposed to get depressed. You're not supposed to um uh you're not supposed to experience any form of mental health. You're supposed to be someone who people can lean on, should rely on, and one who like can't exhibit weakness or anything. You have to deal with it yourself. No matter how difficult it is, you must take it in and just uh figure it out yourself. Honestly, you just have to figure it out, and it's something that I do applaud, like how society is starting to bring more awareness to it, um, because that is honestly like a silent. It can be like it's like a silent killer, for so to speak. Because that's the thing. Because males can't exhibit their emotions and exhibit how they're feeling or what they're going through is the main factor of why there's so much suicide rates and things like that, especially in the male side as well. So it's something that needs to be discussed, and it's different from women because they're sometimes they're in my from what I've heard and seen, they're urged to show emotion, because they hide their emotions so much. But at the same time, um, people perceive that people of color only show anger. That's it, anger and sadness. That's the only emotion that they have. I don't know why, but it's something that is just like ingrained within the people's brains. But it's so wrong. But it's unfortunate that that's how it's seen. But that is how it is seen. So, but yeah, from my experience though, as a male, like I never exhibited emotion personally until like until I was like hmm, I would say most recently, like over this past year, that's when I would say I started like discussing my mental health in a sense. But before that, I was always vulnerable about where I've come from, where I grew up, what I've been through, and everything. But I would say over this lockdown and this pandemic is when I started exhibiting the emotion and saying, okay, I'm depressed. I'm depressed. I can't even deal with you right now. I don't even want to talk to you, and people, and I, even before that, I was always like depression is something that I don't even believe in personally. But when I experienced and felt that it happened in February, this past February actually, where I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wasn't motivated to do any of my passions. I didn't eat much. I ate like once or at most twice a day, at most on a rare occasion. and it was bad. But from there, I searched up everything. I went on my phone and started searching it up. I said, what is this? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling like this? And the only term that came up constantly out of like the 10 searches I did was depression. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm not. People like me are supposed to get depressed. So that was my mindset. I was so shocked. You wouldn't even believe. I said depressed. I was just on my bed like, I'm depressed. This is crazy. So just the fact that how shocked I was just proved to me right there and then that, wow, this is not even discussed. Like, this is something that is not even supposed to be real, but it is happening, and it is. People are Black males and BIPOC males, sorry, are experiencing that, and it is something that needs to be discussed. And I yeah. So conversations like these are ways for it to get out in the open. So yeah, that's my take. But yeah, I want to hear your experience about it from a woman's perspective.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different perspective. I just want to say, just the fact that you were shocked at the fact, like, that you were depressed or that you felt depressed, it speaks
Yeah.
volumes to how much to be talked about. Just that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the way you were thinking. It's just how we grew up, is that you don't talk about it. I For a woman, it's we are taught from a very young age, like people, like, as like a person of color, we are taught from a very young age what you say, because if, especially back home, if a girl says the wrong thing, she is labeled insane very quickly. That was my, like, I've seen it happen to people I know, where, one, you don't tell anybody that you're depressed. I was in the hospital for a week. My parents went to an anniversary party for my aunt and my uncle, and nobody there found out that I was in the hospital due to my mental health degrading. I was in a psychosis. Nobody knew. Till this day, nobody knows except my one cousin, because I was close to her. Nobody else knew. They said, oh, Hibba's home. She's just studying. She had so much work she couldn't miss for this extravagant party that you're throwing, which I would have loved to be there, to be honest. It was sounded like a great party. But it's very, nobody wants to talk about it as a woman of color, because we will get in very wrong ways. One, you get labeled as insane. The word bipolar get thrown around a lot. As a person who has bipolar, it's so confusing, because I'm like, it's confusing, it's heartbreaking, and it's very, like, a little bit offensive. But you just you grow up saying that, you know what, if I'm gonna cry, I'm going to cry to my mom or to my sister, or in the bathroom alone, because nobody else needs to know that I'm sad. If I'm angry, you keep that in. You can cry. That's crying, whatever. If you are angry, you keep it in, you calm down, and then you can be happy again. Because you don't want to get labeled as insane or as crazy, or that crazy person who had an outburst at the dinner, which be the first thought that comes to your head. It's very, what are people going to think? So we don't want them to think in a specific way about her.
That's bad.
She can't show her emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm getting a little bit better with my parents, my mom specifically, but I found out, like, in the pandemic, by the way, like last year, 2020, that my mom had a moment in her life, was extremely depressed. This is a woman who has studied psychology, so she knows the terms, she kind of the field a little bit. But even her, the person who has studied psychology, kind of wanted to go in, like, into psychiatry, or would have done that as a profession, is hiding her emotions because of the way our culture is. Nobody knew. Her parents, her siblings, nobody knew that she was depressed. And I found out last year, because I was sharing, and then she shared back. And I was like, why didn't you talk to your siblings? You're so close. She talks to her sisters every day. And she was like, oh, but we just don't do that. Depression is just not, it's not a thing, you know, you don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about you. And I was,
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. Honestly, I hate that because
Yeah.
I can't believe like that, especially the older generations were taught to hold in their emotions because you don't want other people getting the wrong idea. Because as soon as,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, women get labeled in the wrong way anyways, especially women of color, especially in a lot of cultures, even in Canada, it's like that. It's a woman does something and she's all of a sudden labeled in a wrong way, but then you add mental health problems into it and it's just a whole other ball.
Other level, yeah. Oh,
I like, it was mind-boggling. I asked her, and like I asked my mom, and I was like, okay, but you could have talked to your mom when she was still alive. And she was like, yeah, but you know, her answer is just we just don't do that. That's not like us. But that needs to change because
yeah.
it's okay. Should be able to cry or be angry without being labeled as insane or crazy or bipolar um or too sensitive, because then there's that fear is, oh, she's too sensitive or
Right.
too angry, you know, you don't want to get in her because she's just gonna have an outburst.
Yeah.
Like that. That a lot of my experience or a lot of around me was stuff like that. Is you don't want to get way because the littlest thing will make that happen.
Right. Right. No, I agree with that. Like the previous generations, our parents' generation, and their parents' parents, and their parents, and so on and so forth. They're not accustomed nor equipped to handle mental health because they have experienced it. Majority of them, I would say 80-90% of them have experienced it, but they just didn't or never were taught how to cope with it or or like were spoken to about it. So it's just carrying forward where they can't speak to us about it. And that's why this generation, I would say it's like one of the most emotionally in tune than ever before. Like, and it's gonna continue getting like that as we continue discussing and as we continue going down the common generation coming up, right? And so these conversations will only amplify and aid and assist in this being discussed, because I want to get to a situation where we're and then after our kid is going through something, and then you're just like, hold it in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that, to be honest. I can't personally imagine it, you know? So it's something that, yeah. So, yeah.
I don't want to do that to my kids.
Never.
Parents for the way they handled it because it was all they knew, is what they were taught. Especially when
Yeah, exactly.
They were born and raised in a completely different country. Their mindset is that.
Yeah.
Born and raised, not born, but like I was raised here. And so we grew up with this mindset. I can never blame them for how they handle it because they didn't know anything else. They didn't know what else to do. They didn't know how else to react or what else to say because that was what they were taught. But our generations and the younger generations things for our kids, our future generations, because we need to be able to make this a regular conversation, which honestly I see it happening in my household because every now and then somebody will, you know, I've been feeling kind of depressed today. I think why? And you just kind of talk a little bit about it. You hang out or you do something and it kind of goes away or you feel a little bit better. But the fact that I can say that in my household is a big deal, honestly. It's a huge deal.
If you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak Performance Charity. Speak, inspire, change.